Hello, Facebook and Instagram TV. My name is Jennifer House. I'm a registered dietitian with First Step Nutrition, and for the past 10 years, I've been helping making feeding your family easier by teaching baby-led weaning, picky eating, and meal planning. I'm also the mom of 3 children. And today we're here to talk about 5 reasons why your child might be a picky eater and what to do about it. So stick around if you're struggling with a picky eater at home, worried your child's not getting a varied enough diet, or there's fights at the dinner table. And I had one picky eater, my middle daughter, and I know for a lot of families this really can turn dinner into a nightmare. And how you deal with it can either help the situation or unfortunately it can make it worse too. And it can affect your child's long-term relationship with food. So it really is important stuff. So now I bet many of you are struggling to probably get your kids to eat new foods. Possibly veggies is usually the most difficult group for kids to eat. If this is something you're struggling with, whether you're here live or on the replay, in Facebook, just type a 1 for me. I'd love to know if you're struggling to get your kids to try new foods, and this is how we can kind of have a conversation back and forth without me just talking at you. And you probably maybe stuck as a short order cook. So this means you're making backup meals for your kids, or you're making 2 dinners. So you have kid food, you have adult food, or if your child doesn't eat dinner, then you're bringing out a backup food for them. If this is something you struggle with, being a short order cook at home, just type a 2 in the comment box for me. And if you feel like you have to bribe, pressure, reward your child to just, take a bite of dinner, or they would never try new food, or they would never eat their dinner, period, type a 3. I want to know if you're struggling with this, if you really feel like you're stuck with the pressure and the bribes at dinner. And I know that this just leads to stress for everyone, often arguments, sometimes tears on behalf of sometimes parent or caregiver too, right? And ideally, the goal is just to make dinner time a more peaceful place where everybody enjoys coming, rather than a place where everybody kind of comes to the table with an anxious feeling because they know there's going to be these arguments. And I know there's a lot of confusion out there with picky eaters, a lot of different advice from maybe your mom, your friends, your doctor. When my daughter was younger and she wasn't eating a whole lot of food and she was a little bit smaller, my doctor told me just to give her whatever she wanted to eat, which I know, so basically be like a short order cook, right? And I know this is not the right advice, so I didn't do that. And luckily she's kind of come out of this and has a very healthy relationship with food now. Or maybe you've heard, right, they'll grow out of it, which often is the case, but not always, depending on the issue and how you deal with it as a parent too. So to get into the content and talk about some of the reasons why kids might be a picky eater, just to give you a little more understanding of where they're coming from, there are lots of reasons. So reason number 1 would be their developmental stage. So picky eating tends to start around 18 months, maybe 2 years, when children are starting to find their own voice and they want to exert their independence. And eating or not eating is one of the few things they have control over. And they like attention, right? Whether it's positive attention or that negative attention of the parents, staring at them all dinner, coaxing them to eat. That's attention too, and they'll kind of do whatever they can to get that attention. So another reason, number 2, why kids might be picky eaters is when they tend to hit that age, they're not growing as much. After a year, if you've seen the growth chart or the growth curves, it goes quite steeply the first year and then it does tend to slow down. So often kids aren't as hungry as they used to be. And this worries a lot of parents when their child starts eating less than when they were, 9 months old, but it's totally normal. They do have totally erratic appetites too. Well, we as adults pretty much, eat pretty much the same amount of food every day. Kids can go like this with their appetite. So they'll have a couple days or maybe a week where they're not growing much. They really eat very little. And then they tend to make up for it the following week by eating more than usual. And that's normal for them. And that's a good thing. It's just them listening to their appetite. So a third reason why kids might be picky, genetics. So not to blame mom or dad, but picky eating can be genetic. So if, the mom or the dad was picky as a child, then there's a greater likelihood that their kids will be picky. So I always say this is like payback, right? For what your parents had to deal with. You as a picky eater, now it's your turn. But maybe if you were a picky eater, you have a little more empathy and understanding for your child. So that could help. A fourth reason why kids might be picky is a faulty division of responsibility. So essentially, you're not following your rules in feeding your child or letting your child follow their rules in eating. This might come out as you're the shorter to cook. So really the parent should decide what food is offered, but when you bring out those backup foods or make 2 meals, it's really the child that's deciding what food they get to eat. And they quickly learn that they have this control, and they're very unlikely to try new foods if they know that they can just get what they want. Or another way this can manifest is the child should be responsible for how much they eat, or if they eat at all. And often the parent tries to take control over this role with those pressure bribes to eat more. Sometimes it's restricting them to eat less, but in picky eaters, it usually shows up as pressure to eat more, which I've talked more about in past videos and how this backfires. So if you want to know about that, check out a video I posted recently called 3 Reasons Why the 3-Bite Rule Sucks. So any of those rules just put too much pressure on your child, and then they don't really have full control over how much they choose to eat. Another reason why your child might be a picky eater is for physical reasons. Maybe pain, like they have reflux. If they have constipation, it can be painful to eat. If they have allergies, they might associate food with pain. Or maybe they have oral motor issues, difficulty chewing, enlarged tonsils. This can all affect their ability to chew and swallow. Often babies who are picky eaters had issues with breastfeeding because they had a tongue tie, maybe it hasn't been corrected yet. So this difficulty can transfer into them eating solids as well. Low iron actually might be another physical reason why your baby has low appetite. So low iron can actually lead to decreased appetite and slow growth. So this is a negative cycle. If I see a young child who is not growing well and is not eating much food, I definitely encourage the parent to take the child to the doctor to get their iron tested, as this may be low. And another reason, so this is like, I guess 6 reasons, a bonus reason why kids might be picky eaters is sensory difficulties. So their brain might have difficulty processing. It might be the sight, it might be sound, taste, texture of everything in the environment, including food. And this could look like, if you had a young baby who never mouthed toys, or your young child doesn't like getting dirty, they don't like brushing their teeth, they only like one texture, they may have some difficulty with different textures. And there are some exercises to work through this, and one is even like letting them play sensory bins. Lots of different textures will help when they come to eating as well. So those are some reasons why kids might be picky eaters, and briefly what you can do about it. So if you do think there are some of those physical reasons, oral motor reasons, sensory reasons, it can be a great idea to just consult with your doctor or your dietitian or a pediatric occupational therapist or a speech language pathologist who specializes in infant feeding, just to rule out any underlying causes, because of course until you fix those, then it's going to be very difficult to address the behavioral reasons. In terms of dealing with more of those behavioral aspects, so both behavioral from the side of the parent and the child, you have to follow that division of responsibility in feeding, which I talk about quite a lot. And thanks to Ellen Satter for, championing this concept of feeding. So you follow your rules in feeding and you let your child follow their rules in eating, then they'll be far more likely to grow up with a healthy relationship with food. So, less likely to eat for emotional reasons, be less likely to be a picky eater when they're young. So there's lots of benefits of helping your child to grow up with that healthy relationship with food, which will last throughout their lifetime. And if you'd like more support on how to implement this division of responsibility in feeding in your house, make dinners more peaceful, and some other strategies to get your child the nutrition they need, I have a group coaching program called End Picky Eating. So this is a 6-week program with 2 components. Right now we're doing live calls weekly via Zoom, which is where I teach the content and give you something to implement for the week, work on with your family and your kids. And that's also where we do the group coaching. So everybody is able to ask a question and get some feedback from me. And those calls are recorded too, if you join and are unable to make them all live. And then there's a pop-up Facebook group. So, any day at any time, we can reach out to others who are struggling with these issues too, or share our successes, ask questions. I'm in there too throughout the week to help you guys along. And in terms of what we cover in the course, so we do delve a lot into this division of responsibilities. So your roles in feeding, what, when, and where. So what to feed the kids, the nutrients they need so that you can feel confident in that you're offering them the right foods. And so you can quit being that shorter to cook and set up more of a meal and a snack time routine for your kids to prevent that constant snacking, which is pretty common. We also talk about your child's roles, so how much to eat. So we go over normal children's growth so you can feel confident in letting your child listen to their own appetite rather than feeling like you need to get them to eat. And this is a really big mental block for a lot of parents to get over. So it often does require some continued coaching and encouragement. And that's one reason why we work through this for 6 weeks. And we also talk about some practical aspects of decreasing picky eating, getting kids involved in the kitchen, frequently asked questions like how to manage sweets, and more extreme picky eating and what you can do in those cases. And my occupational therapist, Melissa, is going to be joining us for a course for one of the weeks, one of the live calls, which I'm really excited about. And she can talk about topics such as, progressing those textures gradually if you have a kid that has some sensory difficulties. So for this next round, we're starting Monday, November 5th for 6 weeks through mid-December. I have a couple people in the program already, a few spots left. I wanted to limit it so that everybody does have time for some one-on-one coaching on the calls. But if you're interested, just type a heart in the comments. That's all you have to do, and then I'll reach out to you via Messenger to give you some more information and see if this is right for you. If you're too shy to do that, feel free to send me a message as well. That's okay. So if you want to know more about my 6-week End Picky Eating group coaching program to end those dinner time battles, just type a heart in the comments for me and I will reach out to you. So I hope that gives you some insight into picky eating, why it may be happening in your house, and a few couple tips in kind of how to deal with that and how to manage that. If you want more help, reach out to me, and I thank you guys for watching today. Bye.